When you follow your own path, life meets you there. That's something I wish I had known when I was younger. Because for so long I was scared of doing the things I really wanted to do. Scared of not following what my parents were telling me to do. Or what my leaders or people that were like my guiders, and my therapist. For so long I thought that those people knew better than me, that they knew better what I should do than myself. They knew better than myself what I should do with my own life. And later on, I realized that that was not true. And today I want to talk to you guys about how important it is to trail your own track, to do your own thing when it comes to life. Every time I made a decision on my life alone, with no exterior help, just me, my thoughts, my endless writing on notebooks and journaling and morning pages, and literally just hitting my head against a wall until I figured it out. Every time I went through that painful and anxiety-driven process, I came out of it more connected to myself than before, closer to the person that I always wanted to be. And it's worth it. It's worth it because all the experiences I had in my life so far that made me the person I am today, they came through that willingness, that courage to take a step forward in the line of life and say, I'm here. I want this. I want this life that I dream of. And this is one of those steps, recording videos for YouTube. It's also taking a step into something that I always dreamed of doing. I dream of geographical freedom. Sorry, maybe I shouldn't tell that, but this is one of the things that I've always wanted to do. I've been trying to start a YouTube channel since the pandemic, since 2021. And only now I came around to actually find something I want to talk about on the internet. I've tried many times before, don't get me wrong. I tried, but I'm tired of trying. But most importantly, follow your own path in life. It's related to making your own decisions and not allowing others to decide for you. We already live in a society, unfortunately, that has this sort of pre-planned life for everyone. I encourage you to throw that out the window because it's no fun. I don't want to live the same life that thousands of people lived before me. I'm not interested in that. I am unique. I am the only version of myself that's ever going to walk this earth. I am allowed to have an authentic, rewarding life made by me, created by me. You have the power of creation yourself. Don't think for a second that you can't build a life for yourself, because you can. Creativity and the power of creation was given to all of us by whomever created us. Okay, I'm not going to preach about God or anything, but I believe that creativity is an inherent power for all creation, for everyone, especially for humankind. And life, in my experience, rewards the brave. Life likes it when you have courage, because it takes courage to build your own path, to lead your own life. And when you do that, you get your prize, you get your reward. You may sometimes not get what you want, but you definitely get what you need. I remember that when I moved to Sao Paulo, I was rewarded with loneliness. And I needed that. Years later, I found out that I needed to learn to be lonely. I was rewarded with challenges, but I needed those challenges. I needed to become the person I was today. There's a quote from a song from Madonna. She says, there's only so much you can learn in one place. And I totally agree. I remember listening to that song when I moved out of my parents' house and later when I moved out to Sao Paulo. And every other moment in my life, it comes back to me. It's called Jump from Madonna. It's one of my favorite albums of her, Confessions on a Dance Floor. It's a disco album. It's very good. And this song has this powerful idea of jump, like literally take a chance, take the risk. There's only so much you can learn in one place. And I do believe that because that's the experience I had in my life. You need to be able to go to the next level because you're going to learn new things once you get there. I changed into a completely different person once I had the opportunity to leave my parents' house and leave my hometown. I've learned so much. And then I went abroad, I went to England, and I just kept growing as a person in many different ways. And I've learned lots of things about myself that I wouldn't have otherwise. When you stick around in the same place for too long, it's really hard to grow and evolve because you need to battle against forces. And what I mean by that, people, right? The people who know you, they've seen you grow up from a child to an adult, a young adult, they have an idea of who you are. And it's really hard to break those expectations without feeling some sort of emotional guilt. That's why you need space away from your family. That's why you need time away from those people because they think they know who you are. And that stops you from really changing and growing and evolving into a version of you that not even you know, that you're not even familiar with. But in your head, you want to get there. You want to cross that bridge, but you can't. You can't because those people, they'll look at you and say, oh, you've changed. They might change the way they treat you. At least that will happen to me, okay? If you're not going through that, lucky you. But I went through that in my early adulthood, and it was really hard because I knew that I was evolving. And it's so unfair to not allow people to grow and change. But unfortunately, considering that my mom and my dad, they didn't really take many risks in life. They stayed in the same place. They lived the same lives. They didn't change. They didn't go anywhere. I'm not undermining their path. But they can't really relate to me in terms of, moving, living alone. They never done that. And I needed to go. I always knew I needed to see the world for myself and I needed to have my own experiences. And I don't regret it. Okay? Life rewards courage. And it may not be exactly what you think it is. You may not get exactly what you want. You get what you want, but you also get a little bit of lecture, okay, from the universe. It's part of the deal. You can't always have only good things in life, I'm afraid. And you know what? Only you know what it's like to be you. Don't let other people dictate on your life and on how you should live and what you should do and who you should be, because you're the only person who knows what it feels like to be you. And only you know what's good for you, because you're the only person, you know what you think about when you wake up in the morning, when you go to sleep. You know what it's like to be yourself. You know, when you're laying on your bed, you know what thoughts and feelings come to you often, and you know the things you need the most. No one can tell you how to live. They can't know exactly how it feels like to be you because they're not living your life. So it's so unfair. It's unfair for people to try to tell you who you should be, where you should go, what you should do with your time, with your youth, or maybe not even allowing you to be young, to make mistakes. That's not fair. If you don't get to have parents that are supportive and understanding, I'm really sorry, but it's just not worth it to give up on your only chance at living for the sake of pleasing other people. It's not fair to yourself, okay? And if you don't know where you're going, if you have no idea of what your life should look like, that's something for you to work on, okay? I have to work on my own, and I'm going to tell you something up front. Life changes a lot. Things change, plans change, people change, you're going to change. I have changed so much. I always had an idea of where I was going. I always aimed at doing things that gave me pleasure. I was never worried about making money, making lots of money. I was worried about doing the things that would fulfill me. Because money is a consequence. It's not the end goal. Okay? I'm not trying to say that I'm some sort of, Holy Samaritan or something like, no. I understand that money is important. I love money. I want money. But I don't want money at any cost, especially not at the cost of my happiness. Because I know lots of professionals that are miserable, that hate what they do, that spend hours in an office, working Monday to Friday, or even more than that. I had that life once. When I was in Sao Paulo, I used to work in an office all day long, long hours, in front of a screen, not doing anything creative or interesting or entertaining or that had anything to do with who I was. It was a part of myself, but it was such a small part. There were so many other things about me that were not being fulfilled by that job. So I needed to get out. I knew I needed to get out. You get the itch, get the like I'm not in the right place. And you probably aren't if you feel this way, okay? So what I want you to understand is you get rewarded by what you do with joy. You have to give in order to receive, right? In order to receive. And if you don't give with joy and gratefulness and honest delivery, an honest service, you definitely won't get any reward back from that. Okay? So create your own vision of your life. You need to know exactly what it feels like to be you in your perfect day. Some people, I do this exercise very often and I've learned it, of course, over time. And it's basically just imagine what it would feel like to be you, what life you would like to live. And hold on to that feeling, hold on to that thought, to that vision, because it's you and you, okay? No one's gonna, okay, I'm gonna make your dream come true. No one's gonna do that for you, okay? Unless you're rich. I don't know if you have rich parents, but even if you do, you still need to put in the work. You still need to give yourself the credit for doing things, You can be an apple baby, you can be as privileged as you'd like to. But if you want to create something for yourself, you're the one who needs to do the work. Okay? You can't buy this feeling. I think that's what I'm trying to say. There's nothing except building this life day by day. Nothing can replace the actual work. And if you can, you should go all in this life that you're creating, okay? And I say if you can because I understand that people have different levels of freedom, different levels of opportunities, okay? I understand that the world, it's not, a fairy tale. It's not everyone that gets the same opportunities, but if you find yourself right now in a position that you can follow your dreams, that you can create your own life, that you can abandon and leave everything that you have so far, you can sell all your possessions and move abroad, or you can change degrees, or you can start a business, or you can move to another country, whatever you want to do. If you find yourself in a position where you can do those things, do it. Just do it. And as I said, life rewards the brave, guys. Life rewards the brave. Fear is just a feeling. You can still act in spite of fear. You can still do things in spite of fear. Okay? I was frightened in most of the situations in my life where I had to make a big decision, but I made all my own decisions. That's something I can say for sure. There was no influence from my parents, no influence from friends. The moment I had opportunities in front of me that I've always wanted, I took them. Because I know that I'm the only person that's going to deal with the consequences of my actions. I'm the only person responsible for myself. So I take my decisions, I make my decisions, I take my risks. Okay? Nothing too crazy, but just like regular things that for people like me seemed impossible, I still go ahead and do it. I hope this message finds you well and you have a good day. Bye.